They say money is the root of all evil. But in my experience, it's just the water that makes buried secrets grow. I'm Diana Chen, 34, and until last month, I was the dutiful daughter who sent half her paycheck home every month to support her parents. Looking back, I should have seen the signs sooner, but love has a way of blinding you to the obvious. I'd always been the responsible one, working part-time jobs through college, taking out student loans so my younger brother Kevin could attend a private university debt-free. Your brother needs the best education possible, Mom would say. He's going to be a doctor. The fact that I was studying to be an engineer apparently didn't merit the same consideration. The monthly transfer started 5 years ago, right after I landed my dream job at a tech startup in San Francisco. The company had just gone public, and my salary jumped significantly. Mom called the day after the news made the local paper back home in Portland. "Diana, sweetie," she'd said, her voice carrying that particular tone I'd learned to dread since childhood. "Your father and I are having some difficulties with the mortgage. It started small, $2,000 a month to help with the house payment. Then their car needed repairs. Dad's medical insurance didn't cover some new prescriptions. Mom's art gallery wasn't doing well due to the economy. Every month brought a new crisis, a new need, a new reason why they couldn't possibly manage without my help. Meanwhile, Kevin finished medical school and started his residency at a prestigious hospital in Boston. Isn't it wonderful? Mom would gush during our weekly video calls. And he's dating the chief of surgery's daughter. Such a good match. No one seemed to notice or care that I was putting my own life on hold. The down payment I'd been saving for a house gradually dwindled. The promotion I wanted required additional certifications I couldn't afford to pursue. Dating became an afterthought. How could I plan a future when my present was mortgaged to my parents' needs? Then I met Stephen at a tech conference. Brilliant, kind, and surprisingly understanding about my financial situation. "Your devotion to your family is admirable," he said on our third date. "But don't you think it's time they learn to manage on their own?" I brushed off his concerns. They were my parents, after all. They'd sacrificed so much for us growing up. But his words planted a seed of doubt that grew stronger each time I had to say no to another opportunity, another dream, another step forward in my own life. The breaking point came last week. I'd finally saved enough for the certification program that could put me in line for the head engineer position. The same day I was planning to submit my application, Mom called in tears. "The gallery's in trouble," she sobbed. "We need $50,000 by the end of the month or we'll lose everything. You're our only hope, sweetheart. Your brother's still paying off his student loans, and you know how important the gallery is to me." I sat in my tiny apartment, staring at my laptop screen where the certification program application waited. 5 years of supporting them had already cost me over $150,000. The $50,000 in my savings was meant to finally be an investment in my own future. I can't, Mom," I said quietly. "Not this time." The silence on the other end was deafening. "Can't?" Her voice turned cold. "Or won't? After everything we've done for you? We gave up so much to give you and your brother a good life, and this is how you repay us." "Mom, I've been sending money home for 5 years. I need to think about my own future too." "Your future?" She laughed bitterly. "What about my future, my gallery? Do you know what people will say if we have to close? What it will do to our standing in the community? How can you be so selfish?" The word selfish hit me like a physical blow. How many times had I heard that growing up? Selfish for wanting new school supplies when Kevin needed sports equipment. Selfish for applying to out-of-state colleges when they needed me at home. Selfish for pursuing engineering instead of something more suitable for a girl. "I'm not being selfish," I said, my voice stronger than I felt. "I'm being realistic. I need to know where all this money is going. You and Dad should be able to manage on your pensions and Social Security. The house is almost paid off. What's really going on? How dare you question us?" Mom's voice rose. "After everything we've sacrificed. Well, if you're going to be like this, don't bother calling until you've come to your senses, and don't expect us to support your choices anymore." She hung up before I could point out the irony of that last statement. That night, I couldn't sleep. Years of financial statements and excuses swirled in my mind. Stephen's words about enabling dependency echoed in my thoughts. Something wasn't adding up, but I couldn't see the full picture. The next morning, I called in sick to work and started digging. My parents' mortgage information was still in my files. I'd been making the payments directly for years. A call to the bank revealed something interesting. The mortgage payments I'd been sending weren't going to the home loan at all. That loan was paid off 2 years ago, Ms. Chen, the bank representative said. The payments are being directed to a different account. My hands shook as I requested more information. Using the power of attorney I'd been given for emergencies, I accessed their bank statements. What I found made my blood run cold. Regular transfers to an account I didn't recognize. Large withdrawals coinciding with Kevin's emergency requests for help with student loans. Loans that should have been covered by his hospital's repayment program. Payments to luxury retailers, high-end restaurants, flight bookings to Boston. Then I found the credit card statements. My parents, it seemed, had been living quite well on my support payments, designer clothes, art collecting trips, country club memberships, and most surprisingly, regular deposits into an investment account in Kevin's name. But the gallery receipts told the most interesting story. Mom's struggling business had actually been quite profitable for the past 3 years. The books showed healthy sales and substantial profits that were being systematically hidden and redirected. I was still staring at the statements when my phone buzzed. A text from Kevin. How could you do this to Mom and Dad? They've given you everything and now you're abandoning them? You've always been jealous of my success. You're ruining everything. Jealous of his success. The success built on my sacrificed dreams. I took a deep breath and typed back a single line. Check your trust fund statement lately, little brother. Then I called Stephen. Remember when you said it was time they learned to manage on their own? I said when he answered. I think it's actually time for something else. Time for the truth to come out. I spent the rest of the day making copies of everything I found. Bank statements, credit card bills, gallery records, investment accounts. The web of financial manipulation was breathtaking in its complexity and in its betrayal. A message from Mom popped up on my phone. Your father and I are very disappointed in you. We raised you better than this. If you ever want to be part of this family again, you'll send them money by Friday. I looked at the certification program application still open on my laptop, then at the stack of financial records beside me. For the first time in years, I felt not guilt but anger. Clean, clarifying anger. You're right, Mom, I whispered to the screen. You did raise me better than this. Better than lies. Better than theft. Better than betrayal. I picked up my phone and made a call to the one person who could help me understand exactly what my parents had been doing with my money and how to make it stop. Hello, I said when the receptionist answered. I need to speak with someone about reporting financial fraud. The forensic accountant's office was cool and impersonal, much like the numbers she was showing me on her computer screen. Your parents have been running quite a sophisticated operation, Maria Delgado explained, scrolling through the documents I provided. The gallery was essentially a front for money laundering. Your support payments were being used to create the appearance of legitimate business income, while the actual gallery profits were being hidden to avoid taxes. I gripped the armrests of my chair and the investment account in my brother's name. A trust fund built primarily with your money and hidden gallery profits. Current balance just over $800,000. The room seemed to spin. Nearly $1 million while I lived in a tiny apartment and put my life on hold. What are my options? I asked, proud of how steady my voice remained. Maria leaned back in her chair. Given the evidence, you have several. You could report this to the IRS and FBI. This level of financial fraud and tax evasion would interest them greatly. You could pursue civil action to recover your money. Or you could confront your family with the evidence and try to resolve this privately. But given the systematic nature of their deception, I wouldn't recommend that route. My phone buzzed. Another text from Mom. The bank called about you accessing our accounts. How dare you spy on us? Your father is having chest pains from the stress you're causing. I hope you're happy. The familiar guilt rose up, but this time I recognized it for what it was. Another manipulation tool. I want it all, I said to Maria, civil and criminal. They need to face consequences. The next week was a blur of legal meetings and paperwork. I filed complaints with multiple agencies, documented every transaction, every lie, every manipulation. Stephen stayed by my side through all of it, offering support and righteous anger when my resolve wavered. Then came the letter from my parents' lawyer, threatening to sue me for defamation. I recognized the law firm name, the same one that handled Kevin's trust fund. They're bluffing, my lawyer assured me. They know we have documentation for everything. This is just an attempt to scare you into backing down. I wasn't scared anymore. I was furious. The confrontation happened at the gallery during one of Mom's prestigious artists and collectors' evenings. I walked in just as she was finishing her welcome speech to Portland's elite. And of course, she was saying we must support struggling local artists in these difficult economic times. Speaking of support, I said loudly, making her freeze mid-gesture. Let's talk about how you've been supporting my brother's secret trust fund with my money. The elegant crowd turned to stare. Mom's face went pale. Diana, this isn't the time or place. Actually, it's exactly the right time and place. I pulled out copies of the financial records. You've been using this gallery to launder money, using my support payments to create fake income while hiding the real profits. Shall we discuss the tax implications of that? Security, Mom called out, but I noticed none of the staff moved. They've all been served with subpoenas, I informed her. They'll be testifying about the gallery's real income versus what's been reported. Just like the bank records will show where my money really went. Not to your mortgage, which was paid off years ago, but to Kevin's trust fund and your luxury shopping. You ungrateful little, she started, but Dad's hand on her arm stopped her. Diana, he said, his voice carrying that authoritative tone that used to make me crumble. You're making serious accusations. Think very carefully about what you're doing to this family. Family? I laughed. A family doesn't steal from their daughter while privileging their son. A family doesn't manipulate and lie and commit fraud. A family doesn't what? Kevin's voice rang out as he pushed through the crowd. Doesn't take care of their own? Mom and Dad knew I'd need capital to start my own practice. They were just planning for my future. With my money, I turned to face the gathered crowd. Let me tell you all a story about family, about parents who took half their daughter's income for years, claiming poverty while living in luxury. About a brother who knew his trust fund was being built with his sister's sacrificed dreams. About a struggling gallery that's actually been profitable for years, but the profits were being hidden to avoid taxes. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Several prominent collectors began edging toward the door. The IRS and FBI have been notified, I continued. They're very interested in the gallery's creative bookkeeping. And I've filed civil suits to recover every penny that was stolen from me. You'll destroy us, Mom whispered, tears streaming down her face. No, I corrected her. You destroyed yourselves. I'm just exposing the truth. The aftermath was both better and worse than I expected. The gallery was seized as evidence. Mom and Dad were charged with multiple counts of tax evasion and fraud. Kevin's trust fund was frozen pending investigation. The family I'd known, or thought I knew, imploded. Mom alternated between tearful pleas for forgiveness and vicious accusations of betrayal. Dad retreated into stony silence. Kevin raged about his ruined plans as if he had any right to plans built on my stolen money. But something unexpected happened too. Other voices began reaching out. Cousins who'd seen through my parents' facade years ago, but hadn't known how to tell me. Former gallery employees with stories of being forced to participate in the deception. Even some of Mom's society friends admitting they'd suspected something wasn't right but had kept quiet to maintain social harmony. 6 months later, I sat in my new office at work, looking at my professional engineering certification on the wall. The promotion had come through, along with a significant raise. Stephen and I had just put a deposit down on a condo, my first real investment in my own future. Mom and Dad took a plea deal to avoid longer sentences. They'll serve some time, though not as much as they probably deserve. The restitution payments will take years, but I'm less interested in recovering the money than in maintaining the boundaries I've finally learned to set. Kevin lost his position at the prestigious hospital when a scandal broke. Last I heard, he was working at a small practice in rural Maine, learning for the first time what it means to actually earn his way. Yesterday, I received a letter from Mom in prison. I know we hurt you, she wrote, but we're still family. Someday, when you have children of your own, you'll understand that parents just want what's best for their children. I wrote back one line. That's exactly why I'll never treat my children the way you treated me. The gallery building is for sale now. I drive past it sometimes, remembering all the lies that were sold there along with the art. The for sale sign seems like a metaphor. Everything has its price, but the true cost isn't always measured in dollars. Stephen suggested we should buy it, turn it into something positive. Maybe a community art space or education center. Transform the scene of the crime, he said with a smile. I'm considering it. There would be a certain poetry in turning a place of deception into a space for truth and growth. But first, I'm focusing on transforming myself. From the dutiful daughter who enabled financial abuse into a woman who knows her worth can't be measured by her bank account. The forensic accountant's final report sits in my desk drawer. Sometimes I take it out and read it, not to relive the pain, but to remind myself that clarity comes at a cost, and some prices are worth paying. They say money is the root of all evil, but I've learned it's really just a mirror, reflecting who we truly are. My parents saw it as a tool for control and manipulation. My brother saw it as his birthright, but I finally learned to see it for what it is, just a resource, neither good nor evil, useful only in service of our true values. Last week, I started a support group for adult children of financially abusive parents. The stories I hear echo my own, the guilt, the manipulation, the slow erosion of self-worth. But there's hope too, in sharing our experiences and learning to set boundaries. Mom's Gallery used to have a sign. Art is truth seen through a lie. How fitting that their biggest lie, their carefully constructed facade of parental sacrifice and family unity, ultimately revealed the hardest truth of all. Sometimes the family you're born into isn't the family you need to become who you're meant to be. I'm building a new family now, one based on honesty and mutual respect. Stephen and I are talking about marriage, about children, about creating the kind of home where love doesn't come with a price tag and support doesn't mean surrender. The money they stole can be replaced. The dreams they delayed can be pursued. But the truth they tried to hide? That's priceless. And it's mine to keep.